And thanks to Dennis for that report. Well, coming up, DACA turns 10. We hear from an expert about the 10th anniversary of DACA, which helps thousands of youth to pursue their work and educational dreams. That's next on Politics in Focus. Welcome back, everyone, to Politics in Focus. We turn our focus now to DACA, the program turning 10 and where it stands now. DACA, or Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals Policy, has been a big focus as well as much debate. So what is happening with the policy now that protects thousands of undocumented youth from deportation? Well, Steve Maggi is an immigration attorney and is the founder of SMA Law Firm. Good to see you, Steve.
Nice to see you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being with us. And please, jump right in and tell us, really, for those who don't know about DACA, what is it and where is it now?
Well, DACA is the child of our great President Obama. It was something that he pushed for, and essentially what it does is it protects children who came here and who are now adults. People who came here as children, not of their own volition, but were brought here by their parents or their family members, and it allows them to be part of society a little bit more, to work and to contribute more to society. It was part of a plan that was several phases, and the problem is that we haven't moved past where it was 10 years ago, which means that people who came here under the age of 16 before June 15, 2007 are eligible for this protection from deportation if they don't commit an offense that makes them deportable and allows them to work. The problem is that there were no subsequent steps that were taken because that would require legislative action, and this was passed through an executive order. So we've been in limbo for 10 years. There were some appeals in the court that stopped the program temporarily. People were scared that it would be shelved completely. And then the Biden administration obviously is protecting it now. There's been no subsequent challenges in the Supreme Court, but it's always been something that's been up in the air. For the moment, it's status quo. People can still apply. The eligibility is tricky, though, because we're going on now 15 years from that point where somebody could be eligible. So,
and I'm going to, Steve, I'm going to actually jump in here. I'm going to jump in here while you're talking about, and we'll pick up eligibility just so. But I want to say, even before we go to that next point, that you yourself, I'm gathering, based a little bit upon your story that I know about, this was very important to you. Really, you coming and really deciding to be an attorney yourself. Can you tell us about that in the context of this?
Sure, absolutely. This was a different time. This was 1979, but my mom brought me here. I was born in Argentina. She brought me here when I was 5. And of course, I had no idea where I was. I didn't speak the language. I just got off a plane and all of a sudden I was living in a new world. And so I was able eventually, after 9 years, to become a U.S. citizen, but it was a challenge. And I kept that feeling of being lost and not being oriented well, and being kind of lost in the fabric, the social fabric of America as a child, on top of all the other things that people experience as teenagers or children, which is hard enough to adapt. And I kept that feeling, and I wanted to help other people that are going through this similar kind of thing. And so I identified immediately with the dreamers, as they're called, the people that are eligible for DACA, because they also were brought here to a new country, speaking a new language, and they identify as American because their formative years are in the United States. And so they have no place to go back to if they can't stay. And yet at the same time, they're not granted full privileges of being a green card holder or what's called a permanent resident, because that subsequent step in what should have already happened through legislation has not happened.
Well, and I want to talk about legislation, though. I want to talk about that because looking at Congress, many asking about comprehensive, what has been called immigration reform. What are your thoughts on this? And you said it's been a 15-year window. Where does this go now?
I think that we need to always have the goal of comprehensive immigration reform. Even George Bush, W. Bush, when he came in his inaugural speech in 2001, his number one focus was the broken immigration system. There's a consensus across the board, Republican, Democrat, or otherwise, that the system is broken. The problem is that it's impossible or almost impossible to come up with a comprehensive plan that everyone is on board with. So my suggestion has always been to address DACA first, to pass a law that only deals with people who are the dreamers, those million people or so that are eligible, so they can become green card holders. Then they can leave the country and come back. They can start their own businesses. They can get married. They can have a normal life that they deserve and not be penalized for the fact that they were brought here as children against their own volition, no choice of their own, and they're already contributing members of society.
Yeah.
But give them peace of mind that they don't have now.
Wow, Steve, very poignant words that you shared with us, and your story as well. Thank you for your time. And of course, I'm sure folks can find you as well at your law firm, SMA. Steve Maggi, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
And thank you, everyone, for joining us for Politics in Focus. Remember, let's connect. We want to hear from you. Have a great weekend, everybody. Stay safe.